Some coasters are marketed based on ride experience. Tallest, fastest, longest, world's first, this or that. But other rides attract riders with great theming. This is based on the park it's in. They decide what its theme will be and how much money they'll invest in it. The manufacturers don't have a lot to say, but you'll find them working with the park to customize the rides that fit a theme. Today, let's run down every manufacturer, look at their catalog worldwide, and find their best themed coaster. First, thanks to Sushi Boy for this video idea. I also want to thank my Patreons and my new members. I'm so darn wrong about Skyrush, the Coaster Sleuth, Leader of Checks, Mason's Mappings, Michael, and RideOpJ for especially going above and beyond. If you want bonus access, bonus content, behind the scenes videos, a shout out when you join, and your name on this fancy Patreon screen, follow the link below and join. I was able to find a decent themed coaster for every manufacturer, except Skyline Attractions. I'm leaving them out of this video and replacing them with Art Engineering. They have 14 coasters, some have good theming, but none better than Primordial at Lagoon. I got to see this firsthand this year, a shooting dark ride coaster, centered in a giant fake mountain built just for this ride. You have an animatronic in the queue, that's a good start, and about 90% of the ride takes place indoors, following a storyline the whole way. In a park where pretty much every other coaster has zero theming, Primordial stands out big time. Aerodynamics isn't known for their themed rides, but it's their first coaster that stands out the most, Matterhorn at Disneyland. Dating back to 1959, this coaster lives inside a giant fake mountain, modeled after the Matterhorn, an actual mountain in the European Alps. You rise up the mountain and wind your way down. The entire ride is themed, and you even see a Yeti at one point, leaving the mountain and hitting your water finale. B&M is very short on themed American coasters, so let's go overseas and ride Baron 1898 at Efteling. This Dutch dive coaster has an entire storyline behind it. A baron who runs a gold mine and doesn't treat his workers very well, many of whom are now haunted spirits. And as a rider, you're one of his employees. The whole ride experience is themed. From that mine shaft lift hill, 123-foot drop into a fog-filled tunnel, 2 inversions, and although it's short, it combines thrill and theme very well. CCI makes wooden coasters, and generally, these are hard to theme. They do have one dark ride coaster, and that's the Underground at Adventureland. Its theme is an Iowa coal mine. Before you board, you have an animatronic telling you the backstory of Bad Bob, a bank robber who used the coal mine as a hideout and got trapped inside. The mine is now haunted by the ghost of Bad Bob. This ride is barely a coaster, but it's definitely well themed. Chance Rides doesn't have a lot of good options, and once the Hot Wheels coasters open at Mattel Adventure Park, the answer might be one of those, we'll have to see. My pick is Swamp Buggy at Astroworld. This toboggan coaster was themed to a tree, and you go up that tree and spiral down. That's pretty much it. I thought it was clever to dress this up as a tree instead of just a steel tube, so there you have it. The Dinn Corporation built 10 wooden coasters, 11 if you count the Beast, and none of them have any theme of any kind. I'm choosing Texas Giant at Six Flags Over Texas. Why? Not much reason. It was the biggest wooden coaster at the time it opened, and it had trains themed to the Texas flag. That's about all I got. E&F Miler has a few big coasters, and mostly small coasters. I think their best themed one is Freeway Coaster at Adventure City. It's got street signs, it's got rock work, it's very aggressive, just like the drivers in Southern California. So, it's not Disney level theming, even though Disneyland is just a few minutes down the road, but they put in a good effort. GCI is another wooden coaster company, but they were hired to build Alton Towers' Wicker Man. This has a creepy theme. Of course, it is the UK, and this is centered around a group of people who have basically formed a cult and built this born-in structure rising above the trees, the centerpiece of the ride, fire and smoke coming out of it, the ride going through it a few times, and you're invited to be one of the chosen few to join this group. Gerstlauer has some very good options in Europe, and you really can't go wrong here. Maybe you have personal experience and have a different option. Let me know if you do, but I'm giving this one to Schwarzkopf at Hansa Park. This has an extensive pre-show in the queue, located in the Karnen Museum. Your mission is to escape the fortress before it collapses, and there's a dark ride section at the beginning and the end, the outdoor portions being unthemed, and some surprises that follow the storyline that are part of the ride. This is a big bucket list coaster, not just because it's a monster, but because of the whole experience. Giovanola doesn't have a lot to work with, but Goliath at Six Flags Magic Mountain has a decent theme. On the ride, it's basically nothing, but this has a long queue, starting off with those brilliant rock letters, and you enter a tropical maze of switchbacks. They have or had ruins from statues in the sides, giving it that biblical theme, those bamboo columns leading up to that stone station. Hey, it's Six Flags, not a bad effort. The Gravity Group doesn't have a lot of great options, but I rode a good one this past year, Leviathan at SeaWorld. You have this great statue out front, 2 guards at the entrance. Once you enter the indoor part of the queue, it feels like you're in an underwater cave. There's the sea monster on the screens on the station walls. Everything inside is so well done. The station looks great, so do the trains, but the ride itself isn't much, and that's okay. They put in all the work beforehand and it shows. Hopkins doesn't have much to work with. The parks they sell coasters to don't put much importance on theming. I'm giving this one to Patriot at Castles and Coasters. This family coaster is all things America. You have symbols of the country on the lift. Abe Lincoln, the Liberty Bell, bald eagles. You have a giant American flag on top. The supports have red, white, and blue striping. And the trains even look like the American flag. It was a low effort, but full dedication. Intamin has some great options around the world, but I'm giving this one to Universal Orlando's Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts. When you enter Diagon Alley, it's hard to believe there's a major coaster here. You have to go through Gringotts Wizarding Bank, and that queue just keeps going deeper and deeper into the caves. And once you're on the ride, the theme doesn't stop. This is mostly a dark ride, just with a tilt track, a small launch. It's visually spectacular, and this may be cheap since it's not much of a coaster, but it counts, and it's the best themed Intamin I can think of. Jinma was a tough one. I've never ridden anything from them, and they have almost 400 coasters, mostly in China. They have one that caught my eye, Snow Mountain Racer at Harbin Sunakland in China. This mine train coaster uses a fake mountain, and the first half is pretty normal, but then it uses screens, a turntable, tilt track. This is a family-style coaster that's been dressed up to be a very cool all-around ride. Mack Rides has a bunch of great themed coasters in Europe, but I'm going with their premier coaster at their own park, Europa Park. This is Vulture, themed to the experiments of Nikola Tesla, transporting riders using electricity from one point to another. Its queue is very well themed, including Tesla himself, or at least his likeness. This starts with a dark ride section, going through a workshop, electrifying the train before its vertical launch. Mack Rides spared no expense on this ride, from its 7-inversion layout to its very unique theme. Maurer has a few good options, but there's nothing out there themed quite like Laugh Track at Hershey Park. This is their typical spinning coaster, just set in a giant funhouse box. The queue has funhouse mirrors and black lights, and sets you up for the glowing darkness of the ride itself. Through a doll's mouth, picture frames, a tent, steel rings, they only let you see what they want you to see. A fun ride and well themed. Morgan is known for their hypers, and occasional mine train coasters. And wouldn't you know it, you have to go to Six Flags Mexico for their best themed coaster. This is Superman El Ultimo Escape. The ride itself isn't themed, but the queue is. You have to enter the offices of the Daily Mail, a pretty legit effort at turning this line into an office. And in the end, this is all it takes to make this the best themed Morgan. PAX is a Russian manufacturer, and I've never ridden anything from them, so this is kinda hard. But I'm going with Jungle Storm at Shaka Zulu Indoor Theme Park in Bahrain. This is absolutely the first Bahrainian coaster ever on this channel. This wild train style coaster being indoors, weaving around jungle theming, statues. It looks like a crazy ride actually. All that scenery so close to the track, but too bad this closed down in 2018. Pinfari makes a lot of fair rides, but once in a while you see a park put in some effort. This is Thunder Mountain at Flamingoland in the UK, a cyclone that operated from 1991 to 2004. This wins just for that exterior. The inside doesn't look too great, but you're still indoors and that adds to the ride experience. We'll just ignore those terrible looking horse collar restraints. Premier Rides has a ton of options. They actually have a bunch of crazy well-themed coasters, so I had to pick the best of the best, and I chose Revenge of the Mummy at the Universal Parks. You enter the Museum of Antiquities, into a dark queue full of props, board the vehicle and into your part dark ride, part coaster, and you're trying to escape Imhotep from stealing your soul. You have scarabs, fire, mist, forward and backward sections, launches, airtime, twists and turns. These are kind of old coasters, but they're worthy of a Universal brand. PTC is a wooden coaster manufacturer and they haven't built anything new since 1976. There aren't many good options out there, but I did find one that fits the bill. Black Diamond at Knoebels. This started off at Dinosaur Beach as Golden Nugget, an indoor-outdoor steel coaster, and this shut down in 1998. It was moved to Knoebels in 2011 and completely enclosed, themed to the haunted Pennsylvania coal mines, featuring ghostly miners, horses, dynamite, not much speed or thrill, but a well-themed experience. Rocky Mountain Construction, or RMC, isn't too big on theming, but their newest coaster is all theme and no thrill. That's the new Fire in the Hole at Silver Dollar City. This was an extensive reimagining of their classic 1972 coaster. $30 million spent on this indoor coaster themed to firefighting. As a rider, you're a volunteer firefighter, trying to save the town of Maurer from those bald knobbers, always trying to burn it down. The Roller Coaster Corporation of America, or RCCA, has very few options. After looking through their catalog, I decided on Bandit at Movie Park Germany. This 1999 wooden coaster has a Wild West theme. Actually was called Wild Wild West from 1999 to 2004, and it has a very nice western facade on its entrance and a pretty well-themed station. Not a whole lot to it, but it didn't take much to win RCCA. S&S Worldwide didn't have a lot to choose from, but I was very impressed with John Wick open contract at Motion Gate Dubai. This free spin is themed to the movie franchise. You enter the Continental Hotel and make a choice. You either help John Wick or hunt him. It's got a very well-themed queue, and the ride itself doesn't have much, but it appears they put an extensive effort in leading up to the ride. The SBF Visa Group makes mostly small coasters, but the one that stands out to me is Mars at Energylandia. It's definitely hokey and cheesy, but there's a lot there. From start to finish, you're entrenched in the red planet, red rocks and walls, and of course, a variety of Martians. They committed to its theme, and I gotta say, this is how you theme a kid's coaster. Schwarzkopf was big in the 70s and 80s and made a lot of portable rides. Those are usually not big on theming, but they did have some indoor coasters that fit the bill. I'm choosing Black Hole at Alton Towers. This Jetstar was put into a tent and advertised as UK Space Mountain. This had effects in the queue. They kept adding more and more each year. Asteroids were lit up inside and that's all you could see. This got too expensive to operate after 22 years and was shut down in 2005. Togo was another hard one to choose from, but this Japanese manufacturer has built a few indoor coasters, and the best looking one to me is Zola 7 at Fuji Q Highland. This coaster started off as a shooting dark ride, riders shooting targets like spacemen with guns to get points, and then it turns into a more normal coaster spanning 1,400 feet of track. This was taken out in 2010. Vekoma has a lot of options, especially because they do so much work with Disney. It is indeed a Disney coaster I chose, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. This is still brand new, opening in 2022, so the experience from the time you step into the line to the time you get off the ride is so good. It follows a storyline. You have a backwards launch, over a mile of twisted track while spinning through space. Great visuals, pretty much a modern day Space Mountain. Vekoma is stacked, but I think this is the best of the best. Wiegand mostly makes mountain coasters, so it's hard to find any that are very well themed. I think their best is Rocky Top in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Unlike most mountain coasters, this has 4 lift hills instead of just one, going section by section, and this one has a tunnel, an old shack you ride through, and even European bears. Yes, bears peeing in a shed. I appreciate bathroom humor, so obviously this is gonna win. Zamperla builds a lot of small coasters, spinning mice, stuff for kids, but one of their coasters stands out above the rest. Puss in Boots' Giant Journey at Universal Studios Singapore. This is an inverted, multi-dimensional coaster, the only one Zamperla ever made, themed to the character from Shrek, and right from the start, you see the castle with the vines running to the top. You spiral up the lift and past themed setups with all the characters. A bit crude for a Universal park, but still well themed nonetheless. Last one, Zierer has 200 coasters all over the world, and their best themed coaster that I found is Hurricane at Belwarde Park. This Belgian coaster opened in 2013, partially enclosed, having onboard sound, starting off with the dark ride section featuring Hurricane, the Mayan god of wind, fire, and the storm. Its first drop is outside, then it dives back into the building to finish the rest of its course. It relies on lights and sculptures on the wall. Nothing too fancy, but still pretty effective. That's a wrap on this video. This was very hard for a lot of these manufacturers, and there could be some amazing theme coasters I overlooked. So, if you have any other coasters that should have been on this list, let me know in the comments below. Before you go, please drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. I have a playlist with other manufacturer videos. Also, check out my second channel, where I post copyright-free off-ride footage. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.